Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maddie, and this is going to be the video where I'm going to describe my October TBR, but more specifically for Spoopathon and also for a kind of like daily reading challenge sort of thing that I'll be doing in the month of October. So for the month of October, I've been actually really looking forward to doing this TBR video because I had a couple ideas for like what I wanted to do for the month, for my reading month, because I honestly love October. I love Halloween. It's one of my favorite times of the year, and I really wanted to do something special for it. So I am taking another month off of my TBR side score TBR game, just because it doesn't quite fit with the theme of like horror, thriller, psychological types of books. So I'm kind of putting that off to the side for now because I'm going to be doing something very special for the month. Now, along with what I want to do for the month of October, I'm also going to be taking part in Spoopathon, which is hosted by Spoops over at Spoopyhole. I'll leave her her channel description down below, and I'll also link the announcement video for Spoopathon. But basically, it's a readathon, month-long readathon that she is hosting, and it's basically kind of like a map of this haunted house, and that you're at the top floor of this haunted house and you're kind of making your way down, going past like locked doors and ghosts kind of in your way, and you're collecting points through prompts that are kind of listed in whatever like initial prompts that you choose. So like you have to kind of go down the list of prompts on this like infographic. I'll show the picture here of like what it looks like, what the map looks like. And you're in different teams. I'm on Spoops' team. Basically, each team has their own kind of power for the first run of the house. So for the team that I'm a part of, you can go diagonally. So normally you would just have to go straight down the list of prompts. But for my team, you can actually go diagonally if you want. So I actually did that for some of the prompts that I had chosen for my first run. I'm trying to fulfill some prompts to be able to get points for it. And I'm actually really excited because this is very similar to Whatever-a-thon when I did that in June for my TBR. And I read so much the month of June. I'm kind of hoping that this kind of gets me to read as much, if not maybe even a little more, depending on my timing with school and everything like that. So hopefully this will kind of inspire me to read as much as I did for the month of June, and especially since this is my favorite time of year anyway. So I'll go ahead and tell you what the TBR is in relation to what I'm doing for Spoopathon, and then along with that, I'm also doing a daily reading challenge. So basically in the month of October, I'm going to try and read a book a day. And I am going to make it a little easier on myself and not necessarily reading a full book, but reading a short story or a manga volume or something along the lines of finishing a story of a sort. I'm also going to be reading other books, like for instance, reading the books that I'm reading for the TBR for Spoopathon, and I'm going to count that as finishing a book for the day if I finish one of those books, even if it is like a 500-page book. If I finish it that day, that'll be considered my book for the day. And I will be vlogging each day of like what books I'm reading and like what I think about them as I go. So theoretically, I will finish 30 books this month, or at least something sort of close to that. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and tell you the TBR for Spoopathon, and then I'll tell you the few other books that I plan on reading for that daily challenge on top of these books. So for run number 1, and just to kind of give you an idea, I'm saying run number 1 because you could technically go through the haunted house multiple times. So depending on where I'm at with reading and with like my timing and stuff, I may do a second run of the haunted house, and I will have different prompts that I'd have to fulfill with different books. If I end up doing that, I'll release another video to kind of show what the prompts I'm choosing are and how far I can get with those. But for the first run, the first prompts that I chose is the less than 200 pages. And I'm also going to add the recommended to you side prompt to be able to get the number of points I need to be able to progress. And so for the first one, I'm going to do Skyward Volume 1. This is recommended to me by Maddie over at Books Browsing Blog. She's talked about this series quite a few times on her channel, actually. I think she actually just finished it, because it is only 3 volumes. I figured, you know, I might as well put this as my first book for the readathon because it's very short. It is less than 200 pages. I think it's like 140 pages or something like that. It's a graphic novel, so it's going to be really easy to read. But just a brief description of what it is. It's basically about like gravity all of a sudden fails. It starts to become a fraction of what it normally is. And this girl, I believe her name is Willa Fowler. You kind of follow her experience throughout, you know, the world of how like you know, gravity is all of a sudden gone, and they call it G days, the day when the gravity all of a sudden fails. And it's kind of just like following her life and without gravity, or with like very limited gravity. And there's like a whole plot with it. I don't really know much about the plot itself because I tried not to know anything about it. I tried to keep myself in the dark with it because it is such a short series. But I've been really looking forward to reading it. I got these 3 volumes when I was in New York City, my New York City vlog. And so I'm finally able to read it after like, what, 5 or 6 months since I've bought these. So I'm really excited this will be my first book. Okay, and then for the second prompt for Spoopathon, it is a graphic novel prompt, and the reason why I chose the graphic novel is because of the team power being able to go diagonally, and I thought this was easy enough to do because I chose Skyward Volume 2. Okay, so for the third prompt, the prompt is nonfiction, but I also went with an additional prompt of an LGBTQIA rep or author, and so for this one I chose The Lady from the Black Lagoon by Mallory O'Meara. I love Mallory O'Meara because she's actually part of a podcast that I listen to, Reading Glasses. I haven't listened to it in a while because I've just been a little too busy, but I love her. Like, she's just so funny, and she's so much fun to kind of watch and listen to. And she wrote this book. This is her first book she's ever written, and it's basically a nonfiction about the creator of the Creature from the Black Lagoon and how she didn't really get the notoriety and the like fame from being able to have created the story. Like, she didn't get that fame from it. She was actually kind of left in the dark, and that's kind of like how a lot of the environment of Hollywood was back in like the 50s, is that like women that were part of like the writing process or the like filming process or acting process, whatever they didn't really get to be acknowledged or recognized as much as they should have been. So Mallory kind of does a deep dive into kind of Hollywood back in the day and how like women were treated back then and what they actually were able to accomplish and like what was kind of hidden from the public view. And so I'm really excited to read this. I've been really wanting to read it for a long time. I bought it quite a few months ago, and I'm finally finding a reason to read it other than the fact that I just have been wanting to read it for a long time. Okay, for prompt number 4, this was a trick or treat prompt. So for this one, I had to choose 2 different books, and then I had to put it in the Discord chat for Spoopathon and basically say, hey, choose one of these books for me. One of them is a trick in that it's not one that I really want to read, but like I have to have it as an option. And the other one's a treat, which is the one that I actually really want to read. And I had them vote, and they ended up choosing on my treat book, which I'm really happy about because this is actually part of that daily reading challenge that I was talking about. So for this one, I chose 13 short story novels, and they're all horror related. So they have authors like Stephen King, Arthur Conan Doyle, Manly Wade Wellman, Ray Russell, George R. R. Martin, Fritz Leiber, Cornell Woolrich, Theodore Strajan, H.P. Lovecraft, Robert Eichmann, Frank Belknap Long, T.E.D. Klein, and Ray Bradbury. So all of these are authors that have short stories in this collection. I figured this would be really nice to have for Spoopathon because not only is it like a pretty thick book, but it's like horror related, but I'm also going to have this be part of that daily challenge that I was talking about. So have like one of these short stories per day that I read, and I would have this done in 13 days. So I thought this would be really good to kind of have not only as part of the reading challenge, but also to be part of Spoopathon. And then the final prompt for the Spoopathon TBR is reading in the dark. So reading a book that's, you know, after it's been dark with like candlelight or something like that. I figured just to make it easy on myself, I would make it Skyward Volume 3. So that kind of rounds off the Skyward trilogy. So besides the Spoopathon TBR that I had just described, like I had mentioned earlier in the video, I'm also going to do a daily reading challenge. So on top of all those books, I'm also going to try and read a book a day. Some of those are going to be incorporated in it, but I really wanted to make sure that it was horror themed, psychological themes, thriller themes, something along those lines. So for the daily challenge that I wanted to do for the month of October, one of the main things that I really wanted to read day by day is Death Note, the manga series that I absolutely adore. This is one of the favorite manga that I've ever read, along with Naruto, honestly. And I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun to read. I have all 12 volumes. I've read them once before, but it was a long time ago. So I really want to reread them because it's just been so long. So I thought that maybe this would be really fun to like kind of have as kind of the start to my October TBR daily challenge. This next batch of books I'm going to talk about, or it's still manga, are actually for Junji Ito. So Junji Ito is one of my favorite manga, especially horror manga artists. And I absolutely love his work. I've only read Gyo and Uzumaki so far from him, but I have quite a few of his other works, and I thought, you know what, this is a perfect time to finally just go ahead and read the rest of his works. So these will also be daily books that I will read throughout the month of October, and I'm gonna try to read one a day for like an entire week and kind of have like a special vlog dedicated to Junji Ito, which I think will be really fun. But the first one I want to talk about, or I'll just go ahead and tell you the titles of all of them. I don't want to go into too much specifics about what the story is because I want that to be part of the future videos that I create. So one of the books I'm going to read is Tomi. It's a very, very thick book. It's the biggest that he's written, honestly. But I'm really excited because I've heard a lot of really good things about this book. The next one is Smashed, and I believe this is actually a short story collection that he wrote, so I'm really excited to be able to read this. The next one is Shiver, which is also a short story collection. Again, I've heard a lot of really good things about this one. And then the final two are also collections. I don't know if it's like a whole story or if it's short stories kind of with an overarching theme. But the first one I have is Frankenstein, and I'm really excited to read this one because I've read the Mary Shelley version of Frankenstein, like the original Frankenstein. I'm really curious to see if Junji Ito retells the story, tells the story in his eyes, or if it's a completely different story with Frankenstein's themes incorporated in it. So I'm really excited to see what this story is about. The last one that I have is Love Sickness. It is one of his newest ones. I think this came out last year. I'm really excited about this one because this one just gives me vibes that I'm all living for. It looks so interesting. I love the like art of it and the green textures, and oh my gosh, and like even the title font looks really interesting. It looks kind of bloody but also kind of cursive, like, you know, formal. I don't know. This looks really interesting, so I'm really excited to finally be able to read this as well. There are quite a few other Junji Itos that I do not have. There's a couple other short story collections. I think there's one or two actual stories that I do not have still. I might get them between now and the end of October, and if I do, I'll read those as well in the month of October, but there's quite a few Junji Ito that I still haven't read that I have, so I'm actually really looking forward to being able to finally read those. And again, look forward to a future video of mine that's going to kind of just encompass all of my reactions to those books. And then the last two books that I have to mention are part of that daily challenge. They're actual books, so one of them is a short story collection, and the other one's an actual book. I'm kind of incorporating those into the daily challenge as well, so that when I finish the actual book, that will be counting as one of the days. And then the short story collection is more for if for some reason I run out of days. What I might do is I might just have all the Death Note volumes be 1 or 2 days, so I might not necessarily have that be a daily challenge per se. It'll just be like its own kind of vlog. So if I run out of days and I have like a couple days left and I really want to just make sure I get a few more stories read, then I'm going to read Just After Sunset by Stephen King. It's a short story collection. I've actually been really looking forward to reading this. It has quite a few short stories that I've heard about. Things about N, A Very Tight Place looks really interesting. Harvey's Dream, I've heard a lot of good things. Rest Stop, I think I've actually read somewhere or another. Graduation Afternoon, I've heard is really good. Like, there's quite a few really good short stories in this collection that I've heard of. So I will read some of those short stories if I end up needing the short stories, or if I have the time to be able to read them. That will be another book that I kind of add on top of the Spoopathon and everything like that. And then the other book that I'm going to mention is actually going to be technically the first book that I read for the month of October, because it's going to be a carryover Magical Readathon that I'm doing currently right now in the month of September. And that is 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard. The reason why I wanted this one to be technically the first book for my daily challenge in October is because it's a thriller. It's actually a very new thriller. It just came out about a month or two ago, and it kind of takes place in like modern day, like during the quarantine, during the coronavirus in 2020. And I'm really curious to see how this author kind of interprets that time period, because I really haven't seen a lot of authors do that yet. So I'm really curious to see like how she interprets it, and it is a thriller, so like it's kind of like a murder mystery thriller kind of an aspect of a story. I thought it would work really well with like kind of finishing off the month of September for the Magical Readathon, but also to kind of kickstart the month of October's reading challenge, and that it's a thriller, and that I'm assuming at the end is going to be some sort of a twist that just would work really well with kind of starting off that month. Okay, so those are all the books that I want to try and read in the month of October. Now, I know that this is a very intense reading month that I am planning on top of doing school and doing work and doing a couple other things that I have planned for the month. But I just love October so much, and I'm really excited to be able to kind of challenge myself to read some really fun, scary books, and to read some like not so scary books, but in more of a scary setting. I don't know, I'm just really excited to finally be able to have this month come up. And, you know, starting my channel, I've always had this month kind of in mind. I've been coming up with a lot of ideas for what I could do for this month. Reading wise, and also just like everyday wise, like with my reading vlogs and the other stuff that I do, the Pokemon content that I make. So I'm really excited that it's finally here, that I'm planning for it, that I have so many books that I'm planning on reading. Yeah, and I'm hoping that you kind of join me along with my, you know, with this challenge, and maybe even try and challenge yourself. Comment down below if you want to take part in the challenge as well, and what kind of books you're thinking of reading, if they're manga, if they're short stories. If you want to really try to push yourself and to read like full-on novels every day, please let me know what books you're thinking. And if there's any horror books that you would recommend to me. I have quite a few of them with Stephen King, with a few others, but I'm always interested in other authors that write in the horror genre. I don't know quite a few of them. So if you have any recommendations for which ones that you would like me to look at in the future, I would love to see what you guys recommend. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please like it. Please subscribe to my channel if you want more content from me, and if you're looking forward to the month of October as much as I am, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.